Welcome to the next episode of Let's Get Real, Let's Get Raw. I am your host, Lisa Drennon. In today's show, we have the lovely Crystal Gilbert with us. She is a multifaceted homeschool mom of two boys, and she is about to launch her very own holistic natural health and wellness business coming to you in January of 2021. She has gained numerous forms of education and certification along her own healing journey that has helped her realize her calling of helping others to heal holistically. Today, she is going to share a path of forgiveness, and it's actually going to be a surprise as we go along. She's just going to share from the heart, which is what this series is all about. So, welcome, Crystal. How are you today?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, I'm so excited to do this with you. Um, so you have a heart working for a woman. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a mom of two boys, 12 and 4, so they keep me on my toes. And actually, they are what prompted me to start my healing journey because I was a single mom with my oldest. And I'm finally happily married. We live in Florida and we're just getting a cool front of 70 degrees out here. So we're enjoying that right now while everyone else is bundled up all over the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've always had a big heart and I've always loved people, but been very shy. And I went through a lot in my life that just kind of stole all that stuff from me, all my dreams, my hopes, my very soul, the things that made me me. And by healing myself and coming along that journey, I discovered this thing of how I can actually help people and how much I love to do it. Like it just comes so naturally to me. But I have to heal myself in order to help others. So
Yeah.
it was kind of that like the more people I want to help, the more I want to do, the more I have to step back and, look at myself first.
Yes, absolutely. The importance that and a lot of women don't realize, especially when they're raising their kids, the importance of taking me time. I mean, a minimum of 30 minutes a day, because in order to pour into others, as you know, you need to pour into yourself first. So you mentioned something about something about your soul. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So really, I think it was just the culmination of trauma and abuse that really started chipping away at my identity, at who I was. And I was brought up with narcissists, and there was at least three that I can identify that weren't just narcissist in traits, but really they cross the checklist for a narcissist personality disorder. And there were three different ones, three different types. So
Wow.
it was the gamut. And the ones closest to me were like that. And me being very shy already, um, I didn't have a backbone. I was a people pleaser. And so I was the perfect source, a victim for narcissist supply. I didn't even know what that was until just about a little over 3 years ago. So, and I'm 33 now. It's been a long, long journey of trying to figure out life and my place in it, if I had a place in it. And I mentioned, like taking my soul because I got to the place where I was so broken and they convinced me I was of so little value that suicide seemed a better option.
Oh, wow.
And I was suicidal. I started really when I was 13, feeling those extreme forms of depression and questioning, why am I even here? I'm just in people's way. I'd be better off dead. And, it went back and forth, got really, really bad. 17 and just went way downhill. So 19, I was really struggling for my life to find any bit of hope, any reason to live. I love beauty, I love love, and being nice to people and generosity. And my surroundings didn't show me any of that. So it just compounded with the things that I was experiencing personally, and then repetitively and in different forms. And it just kept stacking and stacking and stacking, stripping me. So that's the part where I mentioned, that soul thing that I felt like it was taking away from me, because all the goodness was like sucked out of my environment. So it just became very hard and dark. And it made me think, why am I even fighting for this if there's no hope? If I can't fight this, if there's no good in the world, why would I even fight to get over this stuff or heal? And at that point, I didn't even know I needed healing. I just knew there was stuff going on that didn't make me feel good. So
Right.
when I was 19, I was full blown suicidal. And when all my friends were graduating from college, I was plotting my suicide. So I never made any dreams for the future. It was just, let's keep going a little bit more. And, you know, and that became how I got through the day, was envisioning my suicide. So it was that bad. None of it was a cry for attention or anything like that. It was legitimate. And yeah, I was diagnosed with depression at 13, social anxiety, I think a few years later. I became agoraphobic for a period. I was never officially diagnosed, but that's what it was. So I even got panic attacks just talking on the phone with people. Couldn't hold down a job because I would have panic attacks. And I felt so alone and so isolated. No one understood. And my parents were divorced. They had both remarried. And so my whole world was shaken with all those things too, because I lost any bit of connection. And then when you're with narcissists, what do? They try to poison your mind and brainwash you against anyone else.
Mhm.
So, I was convinced that one side didn't love me, which is horrible. Like, how do you even do that to a person? At a
Right.
young age, as a child, being told, oh, they don't really love you. They love your stepsister more than they love you. They love, you know, all those things. And so the culmination just kept crushing and crushing and crushing me from within. And, you know, friends didn't understand because they saw the outside. Other family members didn't understand because they saw the outside. And when you have one narcissist who's like a pillar in the society, that makes it even more difficult and makes them a prime candidate for abuse and all sorts of manipulation. And they can get away with it because
Yeah.
they have a shiny job, a shiny place in the community. And it was just a very vicious cycle I went through. And, I was brought up in a semi Christian home. I wouldn't even call it Christian, but I knew about God and Jesus. And, you know, uh, but at the age of 8, I became an atheist because they couldn't answer my questions about God. I was
Mhm.
very inquisitive. And I think that was both a blessing and a curse, because some people just couldn't handle my questions. So the fact that they didn't have questions pushed me into that, into atheism. And I thought, well, I don't really need it. I don't need God. But then I had a God experience at 13, like the burning bush with Moses, when God came and just revealed himself. And that was the first time where I really got that. And I just thought I was crazy or something was going on. I never told anyone about it. Um, but that was the first time I really saw that God loved me. But I just pushed it away. And I think because at that point, I was already so convinced that I wasn't lovable, even at the age of 13. So it progressed from there, um, in a very bad way. So I call it shattered. My soul was shattered. That's the best way I can describe it.
Wow. That's powerful. I have the chills and my stomach is in knots right now. I see a lot of your experience in my own. It kind of stirred up some memories, but that's okay. Um, how did you? I mean, you went from you were so young. So then at 19, instead of planning your future, what was your, like, what made you stop and say, I want to plan a future. I want to pick up these broken pieces.
Oh, it's gonna make me cry. The part of it, I have to lead up to that, but basically, it was actually Christmas Eve when I think I was 18, and it was no, actually, that was when I was 19, Christmas Eve, and things were so bad in the household that I tried to take my own life that night, and it was just so bad. I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want it. I didn't want to live. So I overdosed on my prescription medications, and I was on like 4 or 5 different ones at the time for antidepressant, antipsychotic, anti-anxiety, and an anti-nausea one to combat that, and like a sleeping pill almost. And I just overdosed on all those. My intention was, when everyone in the household went to bed, because my older brother was living with us at the time. He had a child he was taking care of that he wasn't sure was his or not, but was watching him just in case it was. And, it was the parent and step parent in the home. And when they all went to bed, that's when I had planned to drink all the rest of the alcohol in the home and finish off my pills and be done with it. So I'd already cut myself too pretty badly. Not a whole lot, but just enough. I had started cutting when I was 13. Nothing too big. It was just like, that the air cap on your tires, just releasing enough pressure. That's what cutting was for me. It wasn't back then. It wasn't even a suicidal thing necessarily. Um, so I'd already done some of that and drawn blood, and it was just the whole thing where I was okay with it, I thought. Um, so it happened that I was just about to go out. I had waited for everyone. I was just about to go out to the garage where all the alcohol was kept and just start chugging all of it. But as soon as I stood up to go out, I just got this wave over me of just lethargy. And I couldn't explain it. I just felt so tired. I couldn't even really move. I thought, okay, well, I'll just lay down for a little bit. I'll take a little nap, or and just lay down until I, get awake enough to go out there. And I wound up, I guess, passing out. I don't even recall it. It was the strangest thing. But then I woke up and the whole room was dark, and I felt like I was in a different place. They call it an out of body experience, but I felt like I was in my body, but in a different place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I couldn't see anything. It was all dark. I felt like I was just floating, and I almost felt like I was being transported, is what it felt like. And I was conscious of it the whole time. And when I realized what was going on, I started panicking. I realized probably the most important thing was I didn't actually want to kill myself. I didn't actually want to die. I just wanted the pain to stop. I had to have the pain stop. Um, I I remembered my dream of going to Paris and sitting in a little cafe and writing in a journal and painting. I remembered those things that I wanted to do, um, and I had that little bit of hope. And I just started praying. I think that was the first time I really started praying. I I just asked God for forgiveness. I said, I don't want this. Please save me. Please save me, but not if I'm going to continue hurting this way. If you're really real, then I need you to do something about this, because I can't live like this anymore. Like, literally, I can't live like this anymore. And I started coming back to consciousness, like in my body. And I woke up and I was able to see the surroundings, but I was almost frozen. And I started panicking again because I couldn't move my body. I was in such a paralyzed state. I don't know what was going on, but I could not lift my hands. I could not roll over. And I was counting heartbeats between breaths. And like, my breaths were longer than my heartbeat. So I could count probably 2, 3 long breaths in between a heartbeat. And that was where I was like freaking out, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And I didn't really mean to do this. And eventually I started coming to, but I had such a long time where I was just in such deep prayer. So then when I came out of it, I was just so grateful. It really was like being reborn again in a way. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I was like, I had no plans, I had no dreams, I had nothing. Like, how do you go from there? So all I did was pray to God, okay, I'll give you a year and a half until I'm 21 to make things better. Just give me one reason to live. That was the prayer. That was our pact. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it my all this time. One reason to live to make it worth all this stuff. And it was about, what was it? Right before my 20th birthday, in September of that year, I found out I was pregnant with my son.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit after that that I realized God had answered my prayer. That was the only thing that would have made me keep my life, was the life of my child.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a whole different scenario as well. But that was the starting point. And making that vow to him when he was in the womb, I wasn't even ready to be a mom. I couldn't even take care of myself at that point. I was so deep in depression and chronic fatigue. I didn't realize I had that at the time, and hypothyroidism, and it just kept me down. I was fighting so hard, but it was my son. And being a single parent, I didn't have anyone else to rely on. And, my stance was, not even over my dead body would my son get hurt the way I had been. I would do everything I could to give him a better life. And that's what I did. I
Mm-hmm.
fought for that. I fought for him. And in turn, I realized I had to fight for myself.
Yeah.
So that's where the self care started coming in. It was like, oh, if I don't take care of myself, I'm all he's got. And I'm not going to be a monster mom. Like, I had to do that work and heal, and I would hear stuff coming out of me when I was hurting, and I was like, no, this isn't acceptable. So I have everything to attribute to my son, my oldest, and just being in that position. So as hard as it was the best blessing ever,
Yeah.
because it showed me my worth. And my son was the first one to show me unconditional love. He was the
Mm-hmm.
first one that made me realize I don't have to wear makeup. I don't have to do this or that. And he's going to love me. He just wants me. That's all. I could just be me. That was the first time in my life I ever had that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was
That's
the
beautiful.
starting point.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. I love the term monster mom. I never heard that before. I picture myself back then sometimes. I was a young mom at 18 too, and sometimes I was a monster mom because I was hurting so bad I didn't know how to properly express. That's beautiful. I love it. I've never felt so much emotion sitting listening to someone talk before. Your story is so powerful, and you went through so much, and you were so young. Um, and I love how you make that stance. I could picture you just standing there, putting your foot down, telling yourself, hey, listen, shape up, because you certainly couldn't ship out, right? So that was your pivot point. So what kind of modality did you use to start that self-healing?
So really, I was just floundering. I had never been taught self-care. I didn't have any good resources. I didn't even have people I could go to trust with this stuff. So it was all being led by God, the Holy Spirit, to get me in the right places with the right people, the right connections. And I, again, realizing all my son really had was me. So I started researching how to prevent cancer and how to make sure I don't have this or that disease, to make sure, I was taken care of. So that's what led me on the natural path. We didn't have money. I couldn't just go to a doctor or anything like that. So I was pushed into like homeopathy and natural resources. And then it started working so incredibly well. I'm like, I don't even ever have to go back. So when we did have the money or insurance, I didn't need it.
Mhm. That's awesome.
So, and then just that empowerment, how good it felt to be able to take care of my child, learning that education and empowerment. So that's really the heart behind why I'm sharing now. My business I'm about to launch and all those things is just all the things I really had to learn the hard way and fight through and struggle through. And I see that going on so much now. It's so simple. It just needs to be taught more. You know,
Yeah.
it needs to be pushed out there more so people know they have this option.
Yes.
So it led into actually with my husband 3 years ago, things got really bad again. You know, things didn't just get perfect. It was still hard, but I did have my reason to live. And then I got my husband, my another son, my family, some stability. I started that healing process. And again, it's like, well, I finally have all these little nuts and bolts in place. Why am I still feeling this way? And that I think is really the other pivot point to, okay, now I've gotten away of this, and this. So I really started praying about it, and God led me to kind of divorce the narcissists in my life, to go no contact. And 3.5 years later, very, very rough. I also didn't have preparation for that. But I'm now at that point through all the healing process where I can be here and share my story. And I feel like I am healed enough. I mean, I think it's always a healing journey,
Yeah, absolutely.
but I'm healed enough where I'm not in that place. I'm not a broken girl anymore.
Right.
I I you know, I finally found my inner strength and I love it. It's amazing. And I've
Mhm.
definitely fought for it. So then now it's just a continual, like, I have to do this every single day. I have to take care of myself every day. So it started with the essential oils back 3.5 years ago. Then it got me into AFT, aroma freedom technique, and then also into raindrop and the care program. And then all these different things started coming together full circle. So I did get the holistic view of it. So it's nutrition, it's sleeping, which was not something I did. My thyroid is so messed up, but I'm working on reversing that because I didn't take care of myself. It's working on the stress. It's learning how to dream again. I I lost my dreams. I lost myself. I lost my voice. When you're brought up under so much gaslighting, you're made to believe everything you say, think, or do is crazy. And it's just this whole nightmare to get out of, like being in a that house of mirrors.
Yeah.
You don't know what's real and what isn't.
Mhm.
Um, but thankfully, that fog is lifted, and through these different, business building programs. And I did that because I wanted to start helping people. It started helping me because I had to grow up and be the leader to help the other people. So again, it's like this give and take. The more I want to help others and love others, the more I realize I have to love and take care of myself. And
Mhm.
going back to that forgiveness, it's such a weird thing because it was beaten over my head. You have to forgive or you're not a good Christian. You have to forgive or you're not a good person. But they never asked for forgiveness.
Mhm.
That's the key. They never acknowledged anything that they did. So that's not what forgiveness is. Um, the biggest thing with forgiveness is just that releasing them, really releasing them from hating them and what they've done. So I would say wrapping that all together, the biggest thing I've been able to do in my healing journey is go, I don't hate you. I hate what you've done. I
Mhm.
will pray for you. It's hard to say I love. That's a really hard thing. I'm not quite there, but I don't hate. And I think because of that, I don't hold that baggage around anymore. I can say I care about them. I wouldn't wish evil upon them, but I don't want to see them again. I don't want them in my life and I don't want to be hurt anymore. And that's okay. That's one of the key things too is accepting, like in your course, you mentioned so much good stuff in there, which is on par with my journey. It's okay to not want to be so close. It's okay to have your feelings.
Mhm.
And I think right there is one of the key things too is it's okay to say that was wrong what you did to me. That was wrong how you made me feel. And just being able to do that and get that backbone and get that strength and go look myself in the mirror for the first time without cringing and going, I love you.
Mhm.
Like, oh, how
Yes.
hard, but when you've been told these lies all along in your life that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, God says, I love you. And then to be able to say that is, and again, learning how to forgive yourself. Because again, in scripture, we're told to forgive, but we think that doesn't apply to us.
Mhm.
So I was able to forgive myself of, all my failings, which weren't. I did the best I could and with where I was at. Um, I think that was probably one of the biggest things is forgiving myself and letting go and finding peace with, you know, I had so much going against me and I still came out. I came out of it. I'm living proof, you
Yes,
know.
got this beautiful jewel. And I like the fact that you're multifaceted and the shattering. And then when you think about the shattering, and then if you put it all together, it's like one of those diamond prisms. That's a great picture for your book cover. So
I love that.
I like the title Shattered. So just a little tidbit there. That's such a beautiful story, and it just wow, incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that journey and all the things that you've used. Now you have this awesome business that's launching January. Why are you making us wait? Sounds like something we need now. There's no time like the present. Maybe you can just introduce bits and pieces. So tell us about this launch.
So the name for it is actually the Vine Wellness.
Oh, I like.
And the vine goes with John 15:5, about I am the vine, you're the branches, and we have to abide in God. And that's the biggest thing is he's the source of all of it. He's part of my whole life, the reason I'm here today. So it's just giving credit back to that. Plus the vine is all nature. It's all natural products, natural methods, etc. And it was so beautiful because one of my dream vehicles, if I had the money for it, is actually an old school VW bus. So I have the vision. The Vine Wellness is the VW. So
Oh,
I see that as a label on my dream mobile health and wellness unit in my VW dream bus.
I love that. That's an awesome dream. The Ula guys would like that too. That's awesome. That's beautiful. You're inspiring me to come up with a business name because I don't have one. It's just my name. That
There you
is
go.
beautiful. So what kind of what will you offer in this mobile wellness unit?
So a lot of it is based on education. So I just got certified as a health coach. So again, really coaching people to see what options there are, how they can use different things to actually help their body, what herbs, what supplements, what things they're doing to make it worse, which we are just not taught these things. And
Mhm.
then I'm pulling from a lot of different things. So we have aroma freedom, which is so much to do with the mental, emotional healing and releasing. That's been a key element to my wellness journey.
Yeah.
And then I'm pulling in ULA Life Coach. I'm about to be certified in that. And I have aromatherapy and the care program and all these different things. So, but I've never seen them taught all at once. So I'm pulling all these different things together to really make a whole, holistic, natural health and wellness business to educate people and also give them services. And I'd love to be able to just send people away with a roller bottle for aromatherapy or little an herb concoction for fertility or stress relief or different things like that. So it's
This
kind
is
of
so
the whole
exciting. I love
package.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's the care program?
So CARE stands for Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education, and it was founded by Dr. David Stewart, who just recently passed away last month, unfortunately. But he worked with Gary Young. He actually had crippling back pain for over 40 years. He was taken to a workshop where the raindrop was taught. His wife had given him a raindrop, and he had instantaneous healing, and
Wow.
he used to could not even carry anything, couldn't sleep in bed because his back was hurting. So then he was able to pick up his grandchildren, carry refrigerators. It's an amazing healing testimony that he has. So he was so, like, what is this? And I have to learn more about it. So he went and trained under Gary Young. And then he said, why isn't this mainstream taught? Why isn't there like a program
Yeah.
to streamline this, make sure people are getting quality education and churn them out? So that's where CARE happened. And I believe that was in around 2010 that it started. So it's still relatively new.
Yeah.
But he was trained as a scientist in biology and all sorts of stuff. So he's got that down for him. He also is very Christ centered. He was a pastor. So he pulls together science and God and shows how God's designed for natural healing, natural health and wellness.
Hmm.
So he has healing oils of the Bible, the history of anointing and laying on of hands, which is massage.
Hmm.
That's one of the root words for it. There's the chemistry of essential oils and emotional release. Who doesn't need that? And also
Hello.
raindrop. Yeah, and raindrop and Vitaflex, which are raindrop was created by Gary Young. Vitaflex was honed by a guy named Stanley Burroughs. But there's 13 different techniques in Vitaflex that we just do this motion on different points of our body, and oh, some good stuff can happen. It opens blocked nerve pathways. So
Wow.
it's a whole huge thing in itself. But that's definitely, I mean, it pulls together so much. And again, the foundation of education is huge so that people know this is even a possibility.
Yeah, that's awesome because there's so many people out there with back pain and nerve pain. I was just talking to someone earlier today that was going through some PT and had worked with a chiropractor with no relief. And all I could think of was essential oils. Here you need to put this in yoga. So that I'll have to mention that care thing. I've never heard of that before. So that's incredible. That's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I will put a link below to Crystal's information. You can get connected with her if anything resonates with you as far as her care. I want to go hop on her van and just be, learn from her too. So this is amazing. And we have a lot of similarities, but there's so many differences too, where if I ever move to Florida, I can see, hey, let's partner up and collaborate and we can, help each other out. But yeah, that's just so beautiful. And I can't wait to see your van. I can picture it in my head. And I kind of like your book, Shattered, something to do with Shattered. I love your story. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell for the next episode of Let's Get Real, Let's Be Raw.
Thank you so much.